What's up, YouTube? It's Jack Rabbit here, back with not another video. This is a little bit different for me. One, you can tell by how I'm me. But I'm actually interviewing the book I reviewed the other day, the Great Departure, a Railroad Novelty. Uh, I actually have the author with me today, who's also a good friend of mine, who I've known for years, Jessica Salvar. I do believe I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. If I'm not, that's typical me. I'm going to actually talk a little bit about the book today. Okay, so what made you get started with this book? What was the original idea for it when you started out?
Yeah, so this was kind of an idea that popped in my head, I would say about 4.5 years ago. So it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a little.
So my husband and I got married in early 2016. He actually planned for our honeymoon to be on an Amtrak train. It's called the California Zephyr. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. It's a
I
long
I
distance.
remember it mentioning in the book, but I think I
Yeah.
have. But
So it's a long distance train that travels from Chicago all the way to Emeryville, California. It's about a 2.5 day stay on the train, which I absolutely loved it. I'm glad he planned it, and it was a great surprise. And then we just went up to Trinidad and stayed in the Redwood Forest for a few days, and then we did the whole thing back to conclude our trip. That was honestly, and I've always loved trains. But that really solidified my love, especially for Amtrak. I was amazed at how wonderful the crew was, and just my love for trains and the people in general who work on the railroad grew. And so when we got back for our honeymoon, um, I wanted to learn more about Amtrak, and so I found this Facebook page called Amtrak Fans. I joined it, and then it wasn't long after that I met my friend Todd Pearson, who is mentioned in the book in memory. He sadly passed away from COVID earlier this February. He became a dear friend of mine, and I'm actually really good friends with his mom, Victoria. Um, so I learned more through him, especially, and through others. And so I soon learned he is a locomotive engineer. And of all the places he could have been engineering in the country, he actually was engineering at the time through Springfield. I was just blown away by that. And at the time, I was also pregnant with our first. So it made it a lot easier to kind of go to the crossing. He'd tell me what train he'd be on, then I'd go, and made it a lot easier to kind of make those trips, you
yeah,
know. And so I would go and I'd wave at him, and it was great. And December rolls around, so this is December 2017. Okay, and I actually get to meet him. He actually stops his train at the station. So the original plan, my mom actually had the idea to make cookies for him, and somehow I would have a conductor like give him the cookies. I did not know how to do it. I guess go to the station and then like do it like that. Then the ticket master is like, no, just go stand at that signal over there. The engines will pull right there. And I'm like, oh wow, I can just give it to him there. I didn't know you could do that. That happened. I actually did that twice that December before, just a couple weeks for Christmas. It was one of the most memorable things I've ever experienced as a train fan myself. And plus I knew him, and he really appreciated anytime you give railroad people cookies or treats, if you can. They absolutely love it.
I will have to
And
remember that when I ride the train, because
yeah,
I do ride the train a lot myself.
yeah,
Haven't been doing
yeah.
it much lately, but that's my
Yeah,
own issues.
yeah. So just try to simplify this. Is There's a real long backstory to what led me to write the book. Yeah, and so after that really moving experience in December, right before, I was pretty big pregnant at that time, our firstborn was coming, and the idea just popped in my brain. I would love to write a story about an engineer and a conductor. That's all I knew in my head. I knew like the engineer. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but something kind of tragic would happen. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that, and I just wrote down two names: Jackson Wren and Caleb Linnett, and that's it. That's where I left it. Then our firstborn came along. I didn't really think too much about the book, because I was just seeing the mother. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then yeah, 2 years literally goes by, and 2020 comes along, and that's when I've been thinking about it more, and I actually started trying writing it. It would have still taken place on the California Zephyr route, but it would have taken place in the Sierra Nevada, kind of California, Nevada area, which is also a phenomenal part of the trip. But it just didn't flow. Like something was just hung up. I couldn't get past chapter 3. And also I was starting to get pretty sick in my pregnancy. That's pretty normal for me, at least at the very beginning. And it was really difficult for me to focus. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to set this aside, move along. And another 2 years goes by. And I was at the point in December of just 2021 where I was just contently, you know what? I'm okay just having this thing in my mind. It's been here in my brain, kind of bumping around on and off, and so here's the pivotal moment. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jeb Brooks. Does that ring a bell? He's a really fun YouTuber with travel. It's funny because I don't travel a lot. Jeb Brooks has an awesome. You should check him out. His name's Jeb Brooks, Jeb.
I'll have to.
He and his website's called greenergrass.com. And I came across his California Zephyr video. He's more of an airplane guy, but I love that he tries trains too. He likes the California Zephyr. And that was one of the best videos of the Zephyr I've ever seen. And there are a couple of music pieces in there that he threw in there, just kind of background music, that absolutely moved me. I'm like, hold on. And for some reason, images of my story literally came, like as if I was watching a movie. I'm like, oh my goodness, hold on. So I came across some really moving music. And then literally right at the beginning of January of this year, we had so many cancer diagnoses in our church, and not just in my church, but around, including you. Like, yes. Yeah. And my heart was super freshly stirred. I'm like, okay, you know what? We don't have a new baby right now. We're pretty well adjusted to our 2. I feel like this is a good time to get this story down. Maybe, my heart is freshly stirred. Maybe the Lord is doing something right now. And so I made a personal commitment to myself, no matter how long it would take, I'm writing this story. And actually writing it only took maybe like 3 or 4 months. Now the editing and formatting took another couple of months, and just learning how to do the whole self-publishing thing. And honestly, I think one of my favorite parts in the process was designing the book cover. I don't know if you've ever heard of Canva, but it's fantastic.
No.
Yeah. Oh, Canva's great. It's free as long as you don't do Canva. You can do like a free trial, 30-day trial for it. Canva Pro, but oh my goodness, I had a blast. But anywho, long story short, that's what pushed me over. It actually was not my friend's so my friend's passing. My friend Todd, he got sick with COVID probably about a month into me writing this story. I got a text in about mid-January that he was in the ICU, and I actually got a chance to message him literally the day before he got put on the ventilator. And that's the last time I spoke with him. And and he passed February 11th. And that kind of further pushed me over to really get the story. I knew immediately I'm writing this in his memory. Like, no, there's no question about it. My goal is to write a railroad story, to tell a good story with the gospel of Jesus Christ in it. And kind of a novel format. The reason why it's called a novella is because it's shorter. It doesn't reach the traditional length of a novel. I didn't realize it had. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's only 160 pages, I believe.
Yeah, it's 160 pages, and actually the story itself.
Which is not bad for me because I'm not a huge reader, so that actually was great for me. I was like, I could knock this out in a day. It took me 3, but hey.
I don't mind writing a shorter story because it's easier for people to read. The story itself, I think, is like 155 pages, and I didn't realize it had an actual name. It is novel quality, but it's technically called a novella if it's shorter. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing I learned. There's so much I learned in the process. That's kind of the backstory. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. I got to hear it.
I tried it. It's a super long backstory, but I tried to keep it as brief as I could.
I wasn't expecting brief. But so the gospel parts were intentional in there.
Yes.
but they seemed so smoothly, like I didn't even mind them.
That's good,
I don't read
and
a whole
that
lot of gospel
yeah.
books myself. Well, I don't read a whole lot of books, period. But yeah, gospel's not one of my main things, and I actually liked that the gospel wasn't overpowering. It was very subtle.
Mhm. And that was my goal. I remember specifically my friend, and she's a mentor of mine in our church. Her name's Susan Susko. She's mentioned in the acknowledgments. And
Yep,
I
yep.
remember specifically telling her, hey, I want the gospel to be, clear, biblical, and yet not delivered in I'm trying to find the right word. Not like
Push
pounding it in people. Yeah, like overdoing it, because
Yeah,
some books, it's just like overdone. Um, so I'm very encouraged to hear that from you because that was my
yeah,
goal.
yeah. I did
And
not feel overpowered at
yes.
all. Like I could, like, didn't mind it because it was very subtle. Like it wasn't
Mhm.
overpowering.
Yeah. Okay,
And that's
good.
coming from a guy who's been in very different churches. That's been many
Mhm.
different churches and seen some very pushy,
Yeah.
pushy
Yeah.
gospel. Like, ooh, no, no, not cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm
I
very
won't get into that
encouraged to hear
complaint.
that. Yeah, I'm very encouraged to hear that
Yeah.
feedback. Oh, good.
I also like how you teased with the military stuff with Caleb, and you didn't
Mhm.
actually like what came about with that. Like, how did you get with that? Because that
I
seemed very interesting. Like,
Yeah, I had to figure out Caleb's background. I just pictured him as this young engineer. He just came out of a really hard background, and I'm trying not to say too much so I don't spoil, but I knew
yeah,
I
I know. I'm
wanted
trying not
him
to
to
say
have
too much either.
I know I knew I wanted him to have some sort of traumatic experience, and actually he experienced multiple tragedies. It wasn't just that,
Yeah,
related to his military background, that he's bringing onto the railroad because you got a lot of veterans out there. Not every one of them's a veteran, but you got a lot of veterans out there who are dealing with baggage, and then stuff that happens on the railroad. It affects them. It affects them in different ways. I really that was my other goal with this book is to kind of let people see what the railroad life is about. Like what it can be like, and just kind of peering more into what people go through. And again, Caleb's experience and Jackson's experience are going to be uniquely different from everyone else's. Yeah, so that was my other goal with the book, just to kind of let people know, hey, this is kind of more what the railroad world is like. And I'm thankful I had another Amtrak engineer friend of mine. It wasn't just Todd, but his name's Phil Hollingsworth. He's also mentioned in the acknowledgments, and he's the one who really helped me just make sure I was pretty accurate, and he answered so many railroad questions. You have
oh,
no
yeah.
idea. But he was
Well, I'm
super
sure.
helpful, and yeah. And he's read the book already, and he has absolutely loved it. So
I think I'm gonna cut it off here. I don't think I have any other questions.
yeah, did you have a part? Let's see. I'm trying to think of my own questions here. Hmm. It's like it's hard to say because I don't want to like do some
Yeah, I
spoilers,
don't
but
want to say anything. I would want to say it'd be too spoilery. I don't want to say it.
I will say this. I do have a potential sequel idea bouncing around in my head right now, but I'm not going to force it. I didn't force this one,
Good
but
call. Yeah, I'd
but
just wait on it.
maybe there'll be another book in the future. We'll see. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to read since I know you're not a huge reader.
No, definitely not.
No. Yeah, but yeah, just thank you so much for
Not a
taking the
problem. Not a problem at
interest.
all. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Hmm.
It's good talking to you. I'll have to talk to you again some other time.
Yeah, good talk with you, Jack. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.